Morning, Mr. Clerk, members of the committee. Please call the roll.
Alderman Kennedy?
Here.
Alderman Moore? Alderman French?
Present.
Alderman Vaquero? Alderman Howard? Alderman Carter? Alderman Murphy? Alderman Ogilvy?
Here.
President Reed?
Here.
Chairman Conway?
Present.
We have 6 present and we have a quorum.
Good morning, Mr. Clerk and members of the committee. Today, we will be doing proposed increases and decreases. The budget then goes back to E&A, and then they tweak it, and if we're some dollars off, if we make any changes, then they'll send it back to us. We'll have a final meeting, and then we vote it out and then move it forward through the Board of Aldermen. We have to have this process completed by the end of the month. I have kind of a little series of proposed increases, and you don't have to agree with them, or reductions, I'm just saying, from my conversations with some people. And Mr. Clerk, if you could pass out that, and then you guys can think of, there's the sheets, you guys can write yours up as we go, we'll make copies. No, each pack is the same. It's just a convoluted process of taking things. Basically, there's a proposed increase of about $300,000 for forestry, $241,000 for recreation, $30,000 for BPS, and then I have one that's unfunded that I'd like to make as priorities for the election board, and I don't think we've made copies of that one yet. It's somewhere here. And let me kind of explain to you what we have. On page 161, the treasurer's office in the budget. After our committee hearing, the treasurer had stated that she would be able to generate $1 million instead of $600,000 of revenue for the general revenue. So that series proposes to spend that $400,000, that increase in income. We can't actually put the income in. E&A would have to do that. Also, it would come to our attention the expenses of the new employees on page 162 to give away this $175,000. And what I've done is, if they want to do these programs, what I've done in the one is remove the 2 employees and the attendant expenses. And we've left $175,000 in tax, so that the process is there to give those checks of $50 apiece. That package in front of you then spends those funds for forestry, recreation, and the recreation one there, that is to add 4, well, not exactly 4, but additional recreation supervisors, 1, and if they have to make 1 a 2, so that we can have full recreation funding this summer. They would have the ability, if they wanted to go, some of it to go to supplies. Sometimes the supplies are a little short, but Mr. Best had indicated that they had already given them what they needed for supplies.
Oh, that.
Yep. Oh, no, okay, yeah, I forgot the other guy. He's gone. The $30,000 would go towards BPS to finish out. They have $20,000 towards the Cleveland High School study, and that would finish out that program. And I'm sorry, what else did I do here? And that's it. And I'm not saying it's not a blue plate special, but it's a little more convoluted to do that. We do know that the funds are available. And I know it's a bunch of paperwork for some small changes, but I had to get them from the right accounts to the right places. We'll do the Board of Election Commissioners in a minute. I see your seniority list. Alderman Kennedy, any thoughts on any of the components there?
I just want to get something on clarity here. So the treasurer's offices say they're increasing their contribution to the city to 1 million
Right, from 600.
from 600. And so then these then would allocate those additional dollars.
400,
That 400,000.
right.
Okay, all right.
And it frees up an additional $171,000 by taking out those new employees and then forcing them out of general revenue to pay for, take that exact money and put it into their general revenue account to keep their normal employees.
That clarifies, that's all I have.
Alderman French.
So I don't know what order this is, but the one, I guess the one that was on top, it's a reduction from 500,820 to 355,820. That's 145. Now, what's the 171?
Well, that including fringes comes to 171.
So are we actually deducting 171 or 145?
171. Line 1 will come down 145, and then you got your fringes in each of those little accounts under that.
Okay.
And we make that up because on the next page, if you go to the next page, we're removing those two employee, those salaries there, so it leaves that money available for the treasurer then to put back into what they would consider their general revenue fund.
Okay. Is this the one on 162? Page 162?
That would be the,
105 to 0?
right.
Okay.
So we're taking the 105 and the fringes, bringing it to 0, which in that fund, she has a dedicated source to fund that. She'll be able to then put those funds to her general revenue account.
Okay. And so the total amount is what between the three amendments?
$571,400. It's,
So say it again, 571?
well, actually, the total amount from those amendments is $171,400. And the total amount that I'm allocating there is $571,400.
Okay, I'm lost here. So this one looks like it's cutting 145. This one's cutting 105, and then this one's cutting 27.
So what we're doing is, if you look at each of the amendments, let's go to page 162 first.
162.
So, we're taking line 5101 from 105,000 to 0, plus fringes.
Okay. That is the second amendment here. Right. Gotcha.
And so that total,
It's 105,000.
but the total, including fringes, is 143,700. I wrote that on the side of the page.
Okay.
We're also, if you come down to the bottom half of that page, contractual and other services, we are removing the 200, the 2,500, the 3,000, the 2,000, and the 20,000. And that amounts to 27,700. We've got that here.
Got that.
So if I take those two amounts, add them together, that produces about $171,400. And what we've done is, even though it looks like I'm cutting twice, you go back to page 161,
Oh, I got you
since those are dedicated revenues, they're still sitting in her office. I can't reach in and put that directly into the streets department. Okay, we're reducing her salaries in line 1 out of the general revenue account by the exact same amount, 105.
I got you now.
So then, that way, she will take the funds, I assume she would take the funds, and then keep that office running that way.
Gotcha.
I know it was a little more convoluted than a normal cut and decrease. And then, again, the funds, really, I know forestry was a big issue. We had residents show up at the meeting, wanted the grass cutting. We had them show up here, they wanted the grass cutting. He seemed to have indicated it was about 307,000. I put in 300,000 for the per performance, you know, less the fringes. We have to pay social security taxes on them. We did 30,000 to complete a Cleveland study at VPS, and then the rest goes into recreation. Okay. That's just my thought process there, gentlemen and ladies. I'm Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Carter.
I'm still a little confused on how this will impact her office. Now she said that she will, that she can sustain this cut, or no?
She hasn't, I'm not high on her Facebook like page.
I don't know nothing about Facebook, so.
But neither do I. But anyway, I know the testimony was, we know that we're generating funds. She was able to more accurately portray that the revenue she was turning over was going to be $1 million. That's what she stated in the press. So I have to take her at her word there. This cut here is the 2 new employees that were added last year.
Okay.
And it would be my perception.
Yeah, the ones for the financial empowerment deal, right?
Right, to give away that money.
Okay.
Oh. Alderwoman Murphy. Alderman Ogilvy.
So I think her estimate, though, was that the office would contribute $600,000 to general revenue, not $1 million.
Her original projections that we included in the revenue that's included in the budget was 600. And then she did state to the various news outlets, and you can go to Channel 4 or whatever, that she now believes it would be closer to $1 million. When this goes back up to E&A, and Paul has not received a confirmation directly from her, but he's aware of the statements along those lines. When it goes back to E, I can't increase the money.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't increase the revenue. You know, between now and when it goes to E&A, Paul and his office will have to confirm to their satisfaction that what she said she truly meant.
It was also said in the streets committee when we examined the parking budget.
And then we're kind of, this proposed amendment would eliminate both positions that administer the school savings accounts. Do we want to eliminate both those positions, or maybe one of the 2 positions?
You gotta remember, when she came to us originally, she represented that this would be a public-private match, and that she would receive funds. But Alderman, if it is that important of a program, someone in her office, she can assign, she has a lot of flexibility there, as we can see with her budget, to cut those checks and put them in the account. Remember, she had testified that she was using just the public school children only because they have ID numbers. She's got the account set up, and that it's more of an electronic process. But I'm sure that it's such a magnanimous program that one of her employees could come in on the weekend, a couple of weekends, and write all of those checks to the bank accounts.
Any other questions?
President Reed,
No questions.
I have a follow-up question.
Alderman Carter.
Now, she could cut her, she could cut in what she actually gives to us, right? To the city, yeah. She can cut the transfer.
The transfer, the state law says it has to be 40%
40%.
of what's left over. Now, she can change what's left over by spending it.
So she could cut it. I mean, so she could send us a different amount
If she
than
spends
what she,
more.
right. Okay.
Be irresponsible.
I mean, that's what we do. No further questions. I'm sorry.
All right. So let me kind of see. Okay. Let me see one of these. No, use the Xerox because it can't be changed at a later date.
Okay.
Okay. So, what I would call to actually have this process work in the order in which you received them, which will be, it'll say page 161 at the top. This would be amendment number 1. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I ask Paul Payne a question.
Yes. Oh, go ahead.
Typically, if there is one, the treasurer's office, their projections for income are typically beyond what, is usually in the budget or what.
What's that?
Or there is an actual income that actually happens, usually more than what is projected in the budget.
It varies from year to year. As the chair indicated, what we'll end up doing is we'll probably go back and say, all right, what were the end results from the previous fiscal year to figure out what the more precise number should be. Now, again, that's based on the activity. That doesn't mean that, as indicated, that it could change, because we're talking about FY17's payment, not current year's payment. So, my understanding that this year's payment, which was estimated at 6, maybe 8 something, 860, whatever, not including the cost of education. So that actually it may be higher, but we'd have to verify that with the chair.
All right. That was it.
And like I said, this goes back to E&A. They'll have the opportunity.
Right.
And then, remember, whatever we send to E&A never comes back exactly the way we sent it up there. There's a little give and take there.
I think it's important to get some more money into recreation. So this allows us to get some more money into recreation services, and that's gonna impact public safety more this summer than anything in terms of having the programs and services fully staffed.
How much more of an impact will we make on recreation with this amount?
We need more. We could use $1 million more if we had it, but I heard last night that the treasurer is going to give the mayor $2 million to study the east-west transit line, or north-south transit line. I think we should try to go to East-West Gateway for those funds. And
Where
if
was
we
she
have-
pulling that
if
money
we
from?
have-
The reserves?
If we have $2 million like that, let's take that $2 million and put it where we can make a real impact. And then
That was all my question.
go to East-West Gateway for that's fun to study.
Yeah, I didn't see
I'm
the
confused. I
article.
didn't see nothing about two.
Yeah.
Oh, it was in the paper.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
I didn't read the paper this morning. I'm sorry.
Well, that was money that she didn't know she had when she came in last week 2 times. Alderman.
Mr. Chairman, so we actually went into this in great detail in the Streets Committee.
Right.
And the clerk is making a copy of a form that was given us by the treasurer's office, and it shows the last 3 fiscal years of what she had budgeted as the amount that was going to general revenue versus actually what eventually went. And it's usually about 80 to 100% more than what she originally budgets. So, and she also testified that she was on pace with what she was doing last year, and that was over $1 million. So, as this fiscal year closes out, it should be about $1 million, or $400,000 more, and next fiscal year should be about $400,000 more than she allocated.
So, I'm sorry.
Alderman.
So the assumption then is that on the back end, she'll probably go back and fill some of those positions in the treasurer's office with parking revenue,
Oh, reserves.
and there'll be a smaller contribution to general revenue. Is that kind of the
Small, it's still going to be a larger contribution.
larger
than
than she estimated,
budgeted.
but smaller than it would be if we left the budget as is? The contribution would be larger. We make these amendments. Ultimately, the treasurer's office contribution via the parking division.
Well, it all works out, because right now, the way it is she's requesting about $155,000 more out of general revenue than she is budgeting to put into general revenue. So, it all work out.
And anytime they're short, they'll go take from their emergency reserve. We have about $14 million in our emergency reserve for the entire city. They have 18 million because of the way they budget, because of the way they budget.
Treasurer's office is $18 million.
$18 million in emergency reserve because of the way they work their budget.
Unencumbered?
Yep.
Well, some of it may be income. We talked about that in
She
bonds.
can't provide us the calculation.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
tried.
What's that?
Oh,
Is that accurate?
I would have to review it, but when I'm,
that's what they
there's two
testified.
parts of her operation. One is the operation of the parking meter division, one is the operation of the garages. So when you're looking at reserves, and it's, I think Alderman French asked earlier, we could pull that out from the cash basis annual reports and distribute those. But what, the thing you're gonna have to keep an eye on is whether or not it's operating funds versus debt service reserve funds, which might be related to the financing of the garages. So so with that caveat, you have to look at the numbers individually to see where they're at.
And that's, we couldn't get that information.
I love a breakdown of that.
Yeah, we love a breakdown.
So this is the, as you can see, so budgeted versus actual. So budgeted in 2014 was about 1.46 million. Actual was about 1.9. Budgeted in fiscal year 15 was 1.2 million. Actual was 2.6 million, which is 120% more. And then budgeted last year was 1.4 million versus budgeted this year of 600 and something thousand. So if they're on pace with what they did last year, it should be at least 1.2 million.
All right. So, I'll leave out the increases, but this is kind of like the package to put together that, you know, I'm not asking for your support on the increases right now. You guys can address those one at a time. But amendment number 1 would be page 161. I mean, basically, these three are a package deal, basically to free up $171,000. And so the first amendment number 1 would read page 161 at the top. Treasurer's office, 501 salaries and associated fringes, and there'll be $145,000 written off to your right with an estimate of the fringes with calculations by Mr. Bess here. I would move that we adopt amendment number 1.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt amendment number 1. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Kennedy?
Aye.
Alderman French?
Aye.
Alderman Vaquero, Alderman Carter,
No.
Alderman Murphy,
Aye.
Alderman Ogilvy,
Aye.
President Reed,
Aye.
Chairman Conway.
Aye.
We have 7 ayes and 1 no.
And then amendment number 2, and it reads page 162 at the top. This removes the corresponding funds out of the the empowerment fund. But it's in a different account
I thought that was the
number,
first
and that's why I have to do it this way. And it's a corresponding amount to what we just did on the previous page. We would reduce that 105 down to 0, and the corresponding fringe benefits, and it should amount to about $143,700. That is amendment number 2. I would move that we adopt amendment number 2.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we adopt amendment number 2. There's been a request for previous roll. Seeing no objection, amendment number 2 is added. The next one would be amendment number 3. Again, that would be on page 162. And under contractual and other services, we are leaving the $175,000 pass-through there, but we are taking out, there's associated travel of $2,000, professional services. We're taking out those contractual services, except for the $175,000. We're gonna go ahead and see if they can get this year more match from the private industry, like it was represented originally. And if those expenses are that important, the treasurer should be able to come up with that out of that reserve. So that would cut $27,700 there. I would move that we adopt amendment number 3.
Second.
It's been moved and
Object.
seconded. Okay, hold on. That we adopt amendment number 3. There's been an objection to previous roll. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Kennedy, Alderman French,
Aye.
Alderman Vaquero, Alderman Carter,
Aye.
Alderman Murphy, Alderman Ogilvy,
Aye.
President Reed,
Aye.
Chairman Conway.
Aye.
We have 8 ayes and 0 noes.
Okay. What I would like to do, amendment number 4, and then we'll go and talk about each of these one at a time. It would say page 94.
Recreation.
No, I'm sorry. Well, okay,
Page 94.
let's go to page 94 first. It says 94.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just was out of chronological order. Of these funds that have been freed up, if you look for the whole city of St. Louis, I've got, basically 11 recreation people. And what I would like to do is move 185,000 plus fringes to increase that another 4 to 4.5 employees, depending on how they allocate in the recreation department. And that's how I've got it written there. It's 185,000 in salaries. That's about 4.5 people. And they may need a Rec 2 supervisor versus a Rec 1. Any comments on these funds going to the recreation department?
Did this question come up when Sports and Recreation were here. I don't recall it, but
Well, I know that Alderman Carter had asked what our staffing was at these different centers, and, you know, sometimes and I know all the bureaucrats are here in the room, but, you know, they're only allowed to say what they're allowed to say. But I think it's, and I'll defer to the president here on this, but I think it is important that they have the capability of utilizing not just the community schools, the rec centers, and getting the staffing up to what it should be, so that the children have something
Right.
in access to these facilities and use them.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, my only concern is that we hire these have people. We don't want to hire more like I call babysitters. Are they going to actually run programs?
Yeah.
You know, so the kids come back every day and want to do it like we did when we were kids.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
wanted to be there all the time because we were doing something.
Yeah,
And nobody was just sitting there on their cell phone while the kids were running around the gym.
Exactly. Yeah. Some real programs.
Real pro, that's what I want to say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Alderman.
So, just checking out formatting here. So this 185, we are replacing 105 or 185?
What we're doing is page 94, we're putting in an account 5101, which is just general salaries, if you
Okay.
look down. We're gonna give them the opportunity to allocate it among, you know, what they need in staffing.
So we're giving a total of 185.
Correct.
All right. Because usually on this next line here, that's what I'm a little confused.
Right, I didn't know which category to put it in, and when they go back to E and A,
Okay.
they'll be able to give us, Todd, I mean, you'll be able to give us where this 185 in salaries will be most effective for our children.
Is some of this programming? Or no, it's just
Wow. Yeah, so, I mean, I guess one of the concerns is like, usually as we identify exactly the line item it goes in, that gives us a little bit more control over what it actually does.
Which one?
I can put it in Recreation Supervisor 1. The only thing is, I may need an extra Recreation Supervisor 2. So I can put, you know, just from a management standpoint, we can go ahead and identify Recreation Supervisor 2, and
Or say.
the
Recreation
balance.
1 and 2.
Right, but when listening to them talk about their budget, they spoke of a lack of programming also. So are we hiring more folks to expand the programs that they have, or to just add to the places where they are now? Because
They
I mean,
don't have coverage.
yeah, I mean, because like I said, my area, we don't get any coverage from recreation. So, I mean, will they be expanding into my area? Or what are we doing?
And there's also a concern too about the quality of programming that comes from the recreation department. You know, when we talked to the mayor's office about trying to increase programming for kids, one of the routes we talked about going is putting money there that maybe can be outsourced to nonprofits to do some of these programming inside city facilities. The city may not be the best at providing some of these things.
I think that's a great idea,
Yeah,
but I don't know if we could do that right now.
Right, I mean, what summer is upon us.
Right, I mean, it's too late.
I don't know, I think you can more quickly outsource it than you can hire and train a bunch of new people.
Well, we had to get those people, get a contract, go through the whole process with the city.
Well, right now it's up to personnel, and we won't get these people to.
Next year, next winter.
Now, she has an account, she has a temporary, let's see, does she have a,
Per performance?
let me back up here. Yeah, she does have per performance employees. But I think the messaging is, and I mean, we have the people in the room, except for Ms. Peoples, is that we want those programs expanded the most efficient way.
Right.
And in the areas that,
Any areas that have not been, that don't have, presently not covered.
And what I'm saying is, we can go ahead and put it in 501, and I'm asking Todd and Paul and the president that when they go to E&A, before it gets there and E&A reworks this in the next week, you have Ms. Peoples tell us what's gonna be the most effective way to service our community with additional staff.
And I think that would either be per performance or contract services.
yes.
Okay, I'd rather put it in per performance in the short run. It's
Okay, let them work.
cheaper. It's a little bit cheaper. So,
So what line item?
I don't know.
the problem is my calculation would be off if it
Contract
goes in
services
the.
don't have fringe.
Right. That's- My calculation would be slightly off, so I would ask that amendment number 4, just cross out the 185 and make the increase, well, I'm gonna have to redo this one. It's gonna have to read page 93,
93.
line 5112. And the total amount will be 241,400 including fringes. The fringes is, the only fringe we pay on a per performance employee is the Social Security tax. So you'll actually get a little bit more and give her more flexibility. And between now and then, if she felt,
We could do it by the training.
well, but if she, Todd, I mean, this is important to the city. So I would expect Todd and the president to make sure that we get that allocated to where it's gonna have the most.
I'm sure we can do that, and we'll get here and come up with some kind of,
Yeah.
balances it out.
So can we do that next line too? So it'll be increasing it from what, 178, 178,000 to, somebody do the math,
Yeah. 178
Well,
plus 240.
41.
Well, I gotta back out the Social Security, so give me a half second here. Okay. 240, excuse me, I'm calling the number. Bear with me for a second. 241,400 divided by 10765. Need a number in there. Okay. All right, so what we would be doing there is we would be adding to line 5112, $224,245. $224,245 plus fringes, which is the Social Security, will get you to the 241,400. Did you want to check my math, anybody?
Paul already here.
It's still 241,400, but it's got to technically go into 2 lines. So it's 224, 245 is the increase to there. And then the 224, 245, that gives me 245, 402,245 would be the total in per performance.
What's the total? What's the total?
402,245. All right, I would move that we adopt amendment number 4.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, amendment number 4 be adopted. There's been a request for previous rule, amendment number 4 passes out unanimously. I'm sorry about
That's okay.
the calculations there. the next is on page 95. We know we had a lot of rain this year, and we have rain every spring, believe it or not. And it's the same excuse year after year of, well, it's raining, and we can't cut the grass that fast. And that first cycle, we're all behind, and I know I did talk to Alderman Moore about this. Obviously, he feels like, you know, he's got the lion's share of grass here in the city of St. Louis. The testimony there was that they could get an extra cycle in the year, in the cutting season, with about $307,000. Don't quite have all that amount, so what I'm proposing, and I've lost my cheat sheet, is to do the $300,000, which includes the Social Security, and they pay per performance account for the forestry, to get that extra cycle of grass cutting in. And that would be on page 95. And it is account number 5112. And it's almost the exact amount they needed for that extra cycle. Any comments?
How soon will they have access into this to start the hiring?
July 1st.
He says
July
July
what?
1st.
So they'll start the hiring in July 1st, on July 1st.
Well, keep in mind though, this will affect next spring.
This year,
Budget.
the rest of this
Right.
year, and then next year.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
so even though it's that, next spring is when you're gonna get the most impact it does.
I may not be
You're
here.
not gonna get,
You're doing a good job, Alderman.
May not be here for that.
Chairman, if I could,
Yes, Mr. Walter.
I'd ask that you consider maybe putting 100,000 of this in a contract line, and you consider contracting it out for a quicker response.
Yeah.
Something to think about. Thanks.
Okay, so when it comes to E&A,
Yes.
because we can only suggest the increase, I can only suggest the increase if you guys are comfortable with E&A, but when it gets up there, that money, 100,000 will be in contract, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Is that something?
Yeah,
Mr. Director of Operations here. So I think both for the recreation and forestry, whatever you guys think is the quickest way,
Yeah.
most efficient way,
do it.
I absorbed that. Yes.
keeping in mind the bottleneck down in hiring.
Okay, well then I would move, this was amendment number 5. I would move that we pass amendment number 5, we adopt amendment number 5.
I'll second.
in the previous
Moved and
roll.
seconded that we adopt amendment number 5. There's been a request for previous roll. Seeing no objection, amendment number 5 passes. The final one that I have here is on page 307. And I'm a flexible, well, no, I actually have 2 more.
I only have one.
I haven't done the last one.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess if you got someone here, you can go ahead and make
How
copies of
come
this.
Shane ain't doing that?
Oh, that one too?
His
No, you got it.
I got this one.
Yeah.
Okay, we got it, we're gonna get that out, it wasn't part of the package.
Okay, so this is
Okay.
6.
Okay, so number 6,
No, six is still the page.
Cleveland High School has been sitting there vacant for a long time. And BPS is, they have a study to put that back online. BPS has got $20,000 of the $50,000 funded And I would like to add the balance, 30,000, so they can get the study done and figure out how to get that property back online. Alderman?
Well, I'll defer to other aldermen if they have a question. But my concern is, I have one vacant school in my ward too, and I would like to know what the study's for, because BPS or no one isn't funding a study on mine. If it's a study that's done, I'll probably have to fund it myself out of capital improvement. And this is something that I think that Shane is focused on. So if it's this important to him, I think that he should possibly do this out of his one of his accounts that he has.
I tell you what, these vacant schools are a big...
It's an issue, right?
It's an issue, and I don't have a problem one by one. I know that for years they've been trying on this Cleveland High School thing.
Okay.
I don't know what all of the issues are, but I am okay finding one person who has got, I mean, an architect, engineer, or someone who conducts those studies to actually pay them to do these one by one if you got a problem going forward. Cleveland High School is a huge amount of ground. And I don't know, Alderman, how long has it been vacant?
Oh, I couldn't tell you, because ROTC left a long time ago.
It was in the 90s.
Southwest, yeah.
I mean, in the early
And
2000s.
it's 2 full city blocks, because it has the field in front of it, faces Grand Avenue. It's 2 full city blocks.
So 14 years this place has been vacant. I mean, it's time to move it and get it back on the city rolls. But I'm okay if you got a school that's vacant or that's that big of an impact. I mean, in my case, in the 8th Ward, we have to beat up on, the school board. We don't have anything like that. We had Sherman School. We had nothing of that magnitude.
The castle.
You go, please.
So what exactly is the study doing?
I'm going to inquire of Noel.
Yeah, so first of all, the big problem with Cleveland High School is that it's only got 1 or 2 winters left. And that's the reason for the urgency, and I'm not familiar.
1 or 2 winters.
Winters
okay,
left,
I'm
it's
sorry.
gonna collapse.
Okay.
Right, and that's
In
the
time.
cause for some of this urgency. SLDC has $20,000 to do an engineering, environment, and architecture review that will essentially allow us to A, understand the cost of stabilizing the building, and B, take some plans to developers and pitch it to developers.
So the building is presently owned by?
It's owned by SLDS.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know Shane has had a million conversations with them. And I wish he was here to talk to you guys.
That's all, thank you.
Do you know if the alderman has contributed from his own capital improvement
I
funds
know.
for this?
I know.
All right. So I echo the comments from Alderman Carter here, is that, in my ward, I've got more closed schools than open schools. And almost every concern, whether it's repairing a main thoroughfare in the city, like West Florissant, they tell us to pay for it ourselves out of capital improvement. So it's not a large amount. I think it can come out of either that alderman's ward of capital, or maybe a couple of aldermen's ward capital, or St. Louis Public Schools, who owns the building.
They don't.
Right.
They are not easy to work with.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Does SLPS own Cleveland, or?
Yeah, I think,
Yeah,
Could we hold this one?
yes, we'll hold this one.
All right, thanks.
All right. The final one that I have, only 30,000.
So this will be amendment 6.
This will be amendment number 6.
okay,
So
gotcha.
take this one out.
This is 6.
Hold that.
Mike, what's up, man? Plain black socks.
The, on page 153, on page 153, I'm suggesting but I only have 30 of the $125,000 I'm suggesting in the short run here. I would leave it up to E&A because we can't really increase, but make this as a priority as it goes back. Increasing the per performance employees at the Board of Election Commission by $125,000. They come in and then testified. We have August primary, we have a significant presidential election, and then we will have the alderman from the 27th on the ballot in March.
Definitely gotta be on this.
This big a year, it's, you want to be even Steven, brother.
Want your name printed right.
Right.
So, I think it is important. You saw what had happened in St. Louis County. I don't even begin to understand what they did wrong. But they underestimated, didn't have ballots ready, didn't have things ready, and I mean, they just had a nightmare. But we do know that this is a major election year, and people are gonna be wound up both in August and November, and it'll probably be quiet next March. So I am asking that we send a proposed increase to E&A for $125,000 to the election board. I don't have it funded except for the 30 that I didn't spend on Cleveland High School. I would move that we adopt them. Any
Questions?
How, my question is, how many employees may this get us?
Well, in our presentation, we put in there how many we totally needed, so I don't know how much the 125,000 is going to get us, but it'll put us up at least to where we were in fiscal year 2009, which was a 2008 election. So the number of people that bring us, I'm not absolutely sure. But
this is a breakdown that we provided when we met with the Ways and Means Committee, and it really comprises two sections. One is the additional temporary workers we need to do things like process the initiative petitions, which we're currently doing, which covers current fiscal year, but also spills over into next fiscal year because that process goes through July, as well as assist with the volume of additional voters that we anticipate absentee coming in for both the August primary and the November general. But then the second sheet talks about the number of poll workers that we need, and it contains an itemized breakdown. So the $125,000 will give us additional flexibility. It may not hit our target, but it's more than we would have had before. So we're certainly grateful for whatever additional funding is provided.
and right now, we have most of those workers on staff.
Okay.
Right now, except for maybe 5 or 10 short.
Is there any additional questions?
Yeah, so your original amount requested was 1.1 million, which is about about $450,000. Correct. So you won't get the 450, but 125 will help. Will it be sufficient? Are we gonna have problems? Can you guarantee us we will not have a problem on election day?
No, the way we look at it.
No one can guarantee that.
Right. We could try to make a due diligence promise, but, again, in fiscal year 2009, this is about how much we had, and we spent that much in fiscal year 09. So if we feel like we're running out, we will come back and ask for more. Because we will make sure that the election is successful and that we have what we need to make it successful.
I appreciate your efforts.
Any other questions?
I appreciate your efforts.
On recommendation.
Yeah, I represent Board of Elections as well, and in those numbers, that's when the salaries were significantly lower, and so you need to factor that as well.
Yes.
And then there aren't very many opportunities to come before you, as you all know, to ask for more money. This is really the time we need it. So yes, 450 to 125 is significantly lower. Obviously, they're appreciative of that amount, but with these major elections, more would be very helpful. And we're also dealing with ballots right now and signatures and reviewing petitions, and that's a significant increase in costs as well. Whether 4 or 5.
No, we have 5.
We have 5, so we have to bring in staff for that as well. So if you could keep that in mind as well.
And David made a good point. In fiscal year 09, we were paying temps something an hour. In fiscal year, this new fiscal year, we're paying 10.10. And also we have, we use a temporary agency, which comes up about 15 something an hour. And in '08, we were not doing that. So the cost is significantly risen.
If there's no other questions, then I would recommend we pass amendment number 6 on it.
Second.
And then
Previous
call
roll.
for previous roll. Hearing no objection to previous roll. Amendment 6 passes. We'll hold the other. Who has amendments next, please? If anybody's got anything that...
I've got so many that I need to make copies here.
Okay, give me a sheet. We'll get copies ready. I would say let's get everything down so the clerk can get copies made for all the amendments.
Is anybody else?
Well, I think.
I've got to make copies too.
Yeah,
I'm
so.
gonna take a
5-minute recess.
Yeah, we can tell you, we'll take a 5-minute recess while we're making it. We'll take 5.
I ran a whole campaign against him on this thing.
The girl was about to say.
Where'd my book go?
We got you covered, Todd. We don't.
Some people running away
Your book?
screaming.
Don't be nervous, I got you. Yeah, spread it out.
So we got you covered. We got my back. We got you covered. We'll reconvene. Todd asked us to do that. You're on site.
And Tony, what page were you on? Which page was yours?
164.
Okay. I think Scott was going to go next, or that was.
Scott's papers is here. It doesn't matter. That's Scott.
Just to see.
That's Scott or yours?
That's Scott.
That's all Scott. And then Antonio knows his word.
I didn't, it's just one, I thought I'd hand it out when we could get to it.
Okay. Paul, if you could close that door, about 30 seconds.
Oh, do I have to do that?
Nope, right there.
Okay.
He didn't put his name on it.
Alderman Ogilvy, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, we'll reconvene. There's a quorum sitting here at the table. We're recognizing Alderman Ogilvy. Why don't you give us an overview? These are all.
Yep, they're all related. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the first 2 pages are reductions. These are on page 134. These are within the Sheriff's Department. And these are positions that are funded but not currently filled. And before talking about this too much, the increases are going primarily to the Circuit Attorney's Office. As you know, the Circuit Attorney started responding on site to a lot of homicide investigations when they happened. That in order to be able to continue that, enhance that, and I think make that a more robust, sustainable program, the Circuit Attorney's Office asked to fund some additional positions. As we also know, the last 2 years, the homicide rate has spiked dramatically, and in my opinion, we need to really focus resources on arresting and convicting people who are guilty of these homicides. So in order to do that, we essentially shift money from the Sheriff's Office into the Circuit Attorney's Office, keeping it basically within public safety, but funding these new positions for an investigator and a community engagement specialist. As the office testified to, they believe they're getting a good response with people communicating directly with the Circuit Attorney's Office. In some cases, people who are not comfortable providing evidence to the police will communicate and provide evidence to the Circuit Attorney's Office, which is helpful in determining who is committing a violent crime. So that's the Sheriff's Office is budgeted for 10 sergeants. They have 8 of those positions filled. This would just reduce the allocation to 8, and they're budgeted for 87 Sheriff Deputy 2 positions. This would reduce that to 84 Sheriff Deputy 2 positions, keeping in mind that they only have 82 of those positions filled right now, so they're pretty close to fully staffed. We've heard testimony that both the police and corrections are dramatically understaffed, and yet, have still been able to operate. So these are relatively minor cuts in the big scheme of things in order to put the money, I believe, where it's most needed right now. The last page is a little bit different. This is a membership fee for the Board of Public Service to an association called NACTO, which is the National Association of City Transportation Officials. This would provide an opportunity for a lot of training within BPS and the Streets Department, just related to keeping abreast of sort of urban street right-of-way design issues. I'm hopeful that the city needs to be the lead agency on membership. I'm hopeful this is a one-time expense. In the future, the funding can come from somewhere else, such as Rivers Greenway or East West Gateway. But I think once we're a member, the city and the region will recognize the benefit, and this will seem like a small expense for the value we get out of it.
All right. Mr. Bassett, I could ask you an easy question. On those vacancies in the sheriff's department, did we accommodate them similarly, their budget? The vacancies in the sheriff's department, do we have a subtraction in the budget already because they may not be filled?
We do not. Typically, what you saw in the sheriff's budget right now is a reduction of 5 positions. I believe it was 5 positions from last year. The judges submitted that budget, and they incorporated that change. So that was completely represents what they had requested from us.
Okay, but I have the ability to, on the sheriff's budget, to cut. That's not, or is that part of the court?
It's a gray area. We've in previous years we have cut them and they haven't objected. The judges may say something if they feel that the security positions covered in the courts are insufficient, and then we may get some pushback there. So they've always maintained that they control the TO of the sheriff's office, where we reduce the budget. So it's that kind of, we'd probably have to touch base with the judges to see whether or not that would work.
Okay, and then one other question. On the circuit attorney's office, their budget has gone up about 7% already from last year, which most departments aren't going up that much. And I guess my question is, do we know how many PR people they have working in the circuit attorney's office now?
I don't. That may be a perfectly valid question, and if it's up to me, I prioritize the investigator over PR. So.
No, and I understand that, and that's why I'm asking that question. And then I know that Paul's here, and it's unfair. I know that she's got one kind of put out there, but whether or not under her contract services or somewhere, does she have someone who's handling the PR? I know the press is here, and they probably know who those people are. I'm not going to ask them over there. But that would be a question that I would have is, like you said, prioritizing what is important. Anybody else with thoughts on Alderman Ogilvy's amendments?
I do, just because I have more of a first-hand, the judges are really concerned about security. They're concerned about, that's their number one issue. That's why they were up in Jeff City trying to do that. They've cut 7 positions out of there already. To cut them even deeper when they came in asking for 30,000 more because they don't have enough handcuffs and stuff that they feel to properly do what they're doing already. To cut them even more takes even more security away from the courthouses. And we have a strong responsibility to protect all those jurors and all those people that come in and out of there. And when you're transporting prisoners, and instead of having 2 sheriffs go with somebody, maybe when they're transporting somebody, there's a chance that they can get that gun away from the deputy. And their security is really important. And again, That's exactly why they were up in Jeff City. They were very concerned about security. They agreed to cut 7, like Paul said. I would strongly disagree with cutting them any deeper. In fact, like I said, they were asking to put back 30,000, not take away 80-something thousand. We put jurors in jeopardy. We put the people that go in that room, in that courthouse in jeopardy. And I strongly disagree with this amendment.
I mean, my rebuttal to that would be, we have a public safety crisis outside of the courts, and that we have a homicide rate that's off the charts.
And I understand that, but
Alderman.
you know,
Are there any other aldermen that have, want to speak as to this series of amendments? Okay. Alderman, I'm gonna go ahead and run these through.
All right.
This is the blue plate special?
Are we calling this Amendment 7?
Yes.
Can I make the motion?
Yes.
I move we adopt Amendment 7.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we adopt amendment number 7. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Just to be sure, we put taking these all as one package.
No, we're taking them.
Okay, yeah, and so Amendment 7 is the Deputy Sheriff 2 position. It's a reduction from 2.57 million to 2.48 million, which is essentially, it's 3 currently unfilled Deputy Sheriff positions.
Call the roll.
Alderman Kennedy?
Aye.
Alderman French?
Aye.
Alderman Vaquero?
no.
Alderman Carter?
Aye.
Alderman Murphy?
No.
Alderman Ogilvy?
Aye.
President Reed?
Aye.
Chairman Conway?
That'll be a no.
We have 5 ayes and 3 noes.
So
Amendment number 8.
Amendment number 8 is then the sergeant position. This is to remove.
Go ahead and make your motion.
I move we adopt Amendment 8.
It's been moved that amendment number 8 be adopted.
Oh, second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wake up, everybody. Stop tweeting and let's stay with the program. Okay. Amendment number 8.
This is.
It's been moved and seconded. There's a request for previous roll. Is there any objection to previous roll?
Yes. I wanted him to just.
You have a discussion on
Yeah.
that?
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay.
You're gonna explain it.
This is also in the sheriff's office. This is a reduction of 2 sergeants from the sheriff. These are 2 currently unfilled positions, and represents a savings of $86,400 from the sheriff's budget.
Okay.
It's good.
That does it for me. Thank you.
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
So, I understand your concerns. I think a lot of us have had some concerns with how the sheriff's department's been run for a while. Perhaps when we get a new sheriff, we'll look to add this money back. But right now, I think it needs to be reallocated.
But just as your argument, I think to cut even people away now, before there's any new management, I'm just going by what I'm not being told by the sheriff, but what I've been told by the judges. I mean, where they're at. When I was in Jeff City arguing this, and since have gone over and talked to them, they're extremely concerned. And if we as a board choose to cut them, then we as a board need to take responsibility if something happens. They've already agreed to cuts of 7 deputies over last year. But if we as a board agree, then I guess we as a board need to stand responsible if, you know, for the safety of the jurors and stuff. I just, this is one I think you're cutting in the wrong place. Yeah, they're gonna put a prosecutor out in a murder scene, and it's out there now, that's gonna maybe help on an investigation. But I still say if we're doing the wrong thing, which I strongly believe we are, and something happens, I guess that investigator that's getting paid extra now can go help us at the sheriff's department when something goes wrong there. I'm just telling you that it's a mistake.
It's a double-edged sword, basically. I mean, we want to protect the jurors outside of the building too. And so, I think that adding these positions to the circuit attorney's office you know, it'll help us get, hopefully some of these criminals off the street.
I would point out that there's 161 positions currently filled in the sheriff's office. They'd still be authorized for 165 positions. So we're not authorizing reductions below their current staffing level.
All right. It's been moved and seconded that we have passed amendment number 8.
Previous roll.
There's a request for previous roll, seeing no one. The president has objected to previous roll. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Kennedy?
Aye.
I'm sorry,
Aye.
Alderman French?
Aye.
Alderman Vaquero?
No.
Alderman Carter?
Aye.
Alderman Murphy?
No.
Alderman Ogilvy?
Aye.
President Reed?
No.
Chairman Conway?
No.
We have 4 ayes and 4 noes.
The motion fails. Amendment number 9 is the overtime.
Well, in my order here, it's the amendment 9 is the forced investigative attorney.
Wait a second. Oh, my page is stuck together. I'm sorry. I got community engagement specialist. Is that the investigator?
No, that's a different position. So,
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, I see it. Attorney 3.
Yeah.
yeah. So this position is, well, I move that we adopt amendment 9.
And I would just have one easy question. Since you got the money from the one group, is that where it's gonna go, or are you gonna? Amendment number 8 failed, so I don't
Right.
have that saving, so your
Exactly.
preference is the money goes to this attorney who's,
Correct.
okay. So amendment number 9, page 127, it'll be an attorney 3. The motion by the Alderman to adopt amendment number 9.
Second.
And it's been seconded by the Alderman from the 27th. It's been moved and seconded.
Yeah, so this is related to what I was talking about before. It's to make sure that the Circuit Attorney's Office can continue to respond to scenes of homicides as they happen. This was one of the requests the office made of this committee. This position is about $95,100. With Amendment 7, there was a savings of $88,680. Those numbers are not
So you're
identical,
close.
but they're close, so.
We'll let you slice the bread that
Yeah.
way. It's been moved and seconded. We adopt amendment number 9. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Kennedy?
Aye.
Alderman French?
Aye.
Alderman Vaquero? Alderman Carter?
Aye.
Alderman Murphy?
Aye.
Alderman Ogilvy?
Aye.
Chairman Conway?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
And I will.
You don't
set
have the
those
money?
other ones. Yep.
Okay, and the rest are done. Who else has got anything for us? All right.
Did you?
Yeah. I've got an increase, but as far as the deduction, I'd like to discuss that first.
Okay, what do we have?
Let's start with the increase.
You say you start with the
Well, I'd like to know where the money's coming from first, Alderman.
Yeah,
You know,
so we had a discussion before the meeting, but in the area of, in the corrections department, there were a bunch of unfilled positions, actually a staggering amount of unfilled positions. And right now we have budgeted for 84 positions that are currently unfilled, totaling about $3 million. And so, Paul, this is a question for you.
Okay.
I understand that you have some salary savings line items in the corrections department. How many of those positions, what percentage are you actually budgeting, do you think we will actually fill? even if we fell short 20%, say we actually filled 80% of the positions, that'd be almost $600,000.
We've got in total about $1.1 million in salary savings already, which is higher than last year.
1.1?
Yeah.
Okay.
And my understanding is that they were moving through and filling the positions. Now, that's at least how the discussions I had when we went through this process with the corrections office. And so they're moving, whatever that holdup was, they're actually filling the position. So I was a little leery about even going high as we did with this number, because you want to get you want to give them the ability to fill the positions that they've got, because basically on their staffing table, that's what they need. But on the other hand, you know that there's going to be vacancies, and so you want to be able to grab that. So we did increase the salary savings by about 100,000 or so. So they do have more in it this year than last.
Would there be a corresponding then decrease of overtime if they do hire those positions?
There should be an overtime. What's going on this year right now is they're overspending their overtime and then underspending their other benefits. So theoretically, if they fill the positions more, they should fill the salary and the benefit line should go back up, but their overtime should actually be closer to budget, hopefully, than being over budget. And that's the thinking going into next year.
Okay. So you think you've already allocated for them not being able to fill all the positions?
Yeah, we took salary savings in their budget, even more so than this current year.
Okay. Yeah. So that helps because it seemed to be about $3 million unaccounted for in there. The main thing with my addition, what I wanted to do was the communications division had been cut by about $35,000. And considering what we ask of them now, even recording this meeting, I've got a bill now to expand that to also record the Board of E&A meetings. So I just wanted to make sure that they had at least as much as they had last year.
All right, on amendment number 10.
Yes, I guess we're calling it.
I got 30,000 from Cleveland High School. No, okay.
I don't have a copy of it.
I'm sorry, I took yours.
Alderman, go ahead on your motion.
So this motion deals with the communications division, page 164. This would bring them back whole to what they had been budgeted last year for per performance to 100,000. For some reason, they have been cut. Even though we've increased the duties on the communications division with reporting all our meetings, it's tough on them sometimes. It's even tough on us sometimes when chairman can, scheduling meetings at the same time. They need double the people. And then I have a bill now to expand the number of meetings that they record to also include the Board of E&A, which I think is important. If our meetings are recorded, people should also be able to see what the Board of E&A does. Right now, basically half this budget process is recorded. We record what we do, but then when the real transfers are made, that's kind of in secret. So I would like to see that money added back to the 100,000 it was last year.
All right. I would go ahead and make your motion.
I move that we adopt amendment number 10.
Second.
In previous role.
Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Kennedy?
Aye.
Alderman French?
Aye.
Alderman Vaquero? Alderman Carter?
Aye.
Alderman Murphy?
Aye.
Alderman Ogilvy?
No.
Sorry, was that no?
No.
And Chairman Conway?
Aye.
6 ayes and 1 no.
Chairman Conway, can I ask you a quick question? It's about the budget.
Okay.
So with the police asset forfeiture fund, and I know that, we've talked about trying to do different things from that, and I know we can't do anything, but right now as it sits, they just use it for whatever without approval from anybody. And in the past, before the local control, they used it to Well, I mean, the board had to approve it, not us, but the police board. What, is it anything that we can do to regulate, you know, how, what they do with a portion of it, all of it, something? Because they're just using it now, like this year, he using it on helicopters.
Right,
Come
what
on,
I'm
man,
gonna
that's
ask
crazy.
is the clerk to take a look at that during the next week and see what we can do with that.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
All right, then I would move that we send this, Alderman.
One other thing. To the first, but were there some amendments that were proposed or discussion that happened in personnel?
There were a number of them. I don't believe I can actually bring a motion to amend the budget. I think that's up to the alderman.
Right.
Which was why I wrote a letter to this committee explaining what the personnel committee wanted to do.
Well, we will send those to ENA.
Say that again.
We'll send them to
Say that
ENA.
again.
But I would move that we send the budget back to ENA as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Clerk, moved and second, and we send the budget back as amendment. Please call the roll.
Alderman Kennedy? Alderman French?
Yes.
Alderman Gutierrez?
Aye.
Alderman Carter?
Aye.
Alderman Murphy? Alderman Ogilvy?
Aye.
Chairman Conway? Alderman French?
Aye. Yeah, one little one. It was a little one.
Thank you. Meeting convened, and we'll keep you posted.
Okay.